The summer afternoon was scorching, and Jamal Thompson, a 17-year-old black teen, was riding his bike through the quiet suburban streets of Maplewood. His headphones played his favorite beats, and he was lost in the rhythm, until a police cruiser pulled up beside him. "Hey, stop right there," the officer barked. Jamal skidded to a stop, startled. Yes, officer," he asked nervously, keeping his hands on the handlebars. "You don't belong here." "This is private property," the cop said, his tone sharp, scanning Jamal like he was a threat. Jamal's stomach sank. He knew the street. It led to his aunt's house, where he often rode. I live around here." "This is my neighborhood," he said calmly, trying to defuse the tension. But the cop wasn't listening. His voice grew louder. "I said stop. You're trespassing. Get off this property now." Jamal's heart raced. He looked around for help, realizing the situation was escalating. Then, from a distance, a sleek black SUV rolled up. Out stepped Monica Thompson, Jamal's mother, a formidable lawyer known for her tenacity and sharp mind. "What's going on here?" Monica demanded, striding toward them. Her eyes locked on the officer with an intensity that made him pause. "This kid, he's trespassing," the officer said defensively, trying to maintain authority. Monica's calm, controlled voice cut through the tension like a knife. "Officer, you need to step back and check your facts. My son is on public property. I suggest you think carefully about your next words or actions." The cop, realizing he had underestimated her, shifted uneasily. Jamal watched in awe as his mother's presence seemed to command the street. Monica continued, each word deliberate, sharp, and unyielding. "I am Monica Thompson. ESQ, any attempt to intimidate or falsely accuse my son will have consequences. Do you understand?" The officer hesitated, stammering, caught off guard by her authority. In that moment, the power dynamic had completely flipped. The teen who had been threatened was now protected by a mother whose legal knowledge and calm dominance left no room for error. The cop's eyes darted between Jamal and Monica, clearly unsure how to proceed. He cleared his throat, trying to regain control. "Ma'am, I just have to enforce the law," he muttered. Monica didn't flinch. "Enforcing the law doesn't mean harassing a minor or making baseless accusations. Do you know the legal boundaries of your authority?" Her voice was calm, but every word carried weight. Jamal could feel his mother's presence transform the situation. Where moments ago he had been fearful, he now felt shielded by her confidence. Monica continued, "I suggest you step back and consider your actions carefully. Any false claim, intimidation, or misconduct toward my son will be met with immediate legal action. And trust me, officer, I follow through." The street had grown quiet. Neighbors peeked through windows, some filming discreetly on their phones. Monica's calm authority was magnetic. Everyone sensed that this was no ordinary confrontation. The officer shifted nervously, clearly realizing he had underestimated both Jamal and his mother. He tried again, more cautiously. I just want to make sure there are no issues." Monica's eyes narrowed. "No issues? The only issue here is your misjudgment. My son has done nothing wrong. I advise you to let him go before this escalates further, for your sake and mine." Jamal could barely believe the transformation. Just moments ago, he had felt powerless, cornered. Now, the power dynamic had completely flipped. His mother's legal acumen and commanding presence had turned intimidation into accountability, leaving the officer on the defensive. A few neighbors had gathered, whispering to each other, clearly impressed by Monica's control. Someone discreetly whispered, "Wow, she's not playing." Jamal smiled nervously at his mother, whispering, "Thanks, Mom." Monica glanced at him, a brief, reassuring smile crossing her face. Then she turned her gaze back to the officer, her tone sharp, final, and unwavering. "Consider this a warning. Do not harass, intimidate, or falsely accuse my son again. I will take every legal measure to protect him. Understood?" The officer, realizing he had no ground to stand on and that this situation could ruin his career, muttered a reluctant "yes, ma'am," before stepping back, avoiding eye contact. Jamal exhaled, relief washing over him. Monica crouched to his level, whispering, "You're safe now. Remember, Confidence and knowledge are your best defenses. Never let anyone intimidate you unjustly. By the time the scene settled, Monica's display of legal authority and calm dominance had completely shifted the neighborhood's perception. This wasn't just a mother protecting her child. It was a lesson in power, accountability, and courage that everyone present would remember. Word of the incident spread quickly through the neighborhood. A few neighbors had recorded the encounter, and within hours, short clips were circulating on social media. The video showed the cop confronting Jamal, the teen's initial fear, and then Monica stepping in, calm, commanding, and unflinching. By the evening, hashtags like hashtag justice for Jamal and hashtag mom power were trending. Comments poured in, praising Monica for her composure and legal knowledge, while others criticized the officer for overstepping his authority. News outlets picked up the story, framing it as another example of a parent standing up against discrimination and abuse of power. But the real battle wasn't online, it was official. Monica immediately contacted the police department's Internal Affairs Division to file a formal complaint, ensuring that the officer would be held accountable for his actions. Her legal expertise allowed her to craft a complaint that left no room for ambiguity: harassment, intimidation, and unlawful detention. Meanwhile, Jamal's classmates and friends rallied behind him. Some posted their own videos confirming Jamal's innocence, while others praised Monica for turning a potentially traumatic event into a masterclass in courage and strategy. Jamal began to realize that this confrontation wasn't just about him. It was about sending a message that injustice, especially toward young Black individuals, would not go unchecked. At the police station, the officer was called in for questioning. He had initially thought the complaint would fizzle out, but Monica's reputation preceded her. The captain reviewing the case knew her as a formidable attorney, respected for her meticulous attention to detail and relentless pursuit of justice. Monica, in her usual calm manner, presented evidence, eyewitness statements, and the video footage. She spoke clearly, leaving no room for excuses. "This is not a personal vendetta," she said. "This is accountability. Abuse of authority cannot be ignored, especially when it targets an innocent teen." The officer, realizing he was facing a legal storm far beyond his control, had no choice but to acknowledge the wrongdoing. Internal disciplinary actions were initiated immediately, including mandatory retraining and a formal warning placed on his record. For Jamal, the ordeal became a defining moment in his young life. He learned that standing firm with support, knowledge, and courage could turn fear into empowerment. Monica's actions had not only protected him, but had set an example for the community. Injustice could be confronted, authority could be questioned, and those who overstep would face consequences. By the following week, local media ran headlines praising Monica's decisive action. "Lawyer Mom Protects Teen," holds officer accountable. "Mother's legal power flips the script on harassment," and "Justice Served: How Calm Authority Protects the Vulnerable." Jamal, once terrified and unsure, now walked with a renewed confidence. He realized the true power of knowledge, preparation, and unwavering support from those who stand by you. And Monica? Her example became a rallying cry for parents, legal professionals, and communities everywhere. Proof that courage, intelligence, and composure can turn intimidation into accountability. In the weeks that followed, the incident became more than a neighborhood story. It turned into a viral example of justice in action. Local schools used the video as a case study on civic rights and personal empowerment, showing students that knowing your rights and standing firm can change the outcome of an intimidating situation. Jamal, once a quiet teenager who often stayed in the background, began speaking at school assemblies and community events. He shared his story, not just about being confronted by the officer, but about how his mother's knowledge, calm authority, and unwavering courage had transformed fear into empowerment. His message resonated. Justice isn't about being loud or aggressive. It's about knowing your rights, standing strong, and having the courage to call out wrongdoing. Monica, meanwhile, was invited to speak at professional legal forums and community leadership panels. Her handling of the situation became a blueprint for other parents and attorneys, demonstrating how strategic action and poise can protect the vulnerable and hold authority accountable. But just when the community thought the story had reached its peak, the final twist unfolded. The officer, whose actions had triggered the viral incident, attempted to claim that Jamal had provoked him, a desperate attempt to defend his reputation. Monica, prepared for every angle, responded with undeniable evidence. Timestamps, eyewitness testimonies, and clear footage showing the officer's unnecessary aggression. The legal system moved swiftly. The officer faced a formal disciplinary hearing, and the board publicly reprimanded him for misconduct and bias. The news made headlines. Officer held accountable after harassment of team backfires. Legal mom flips the script on police misconduct. Jamal Thompson protected by calm authority and legal expertise. In a community celebration weeks later, Jamal and Monica walked together through the town square, surrounded by cheering neighbors, supporters, and reporters. Jamal turned to his mother, his eyes shining. "You didn't just protect me. You taught everyone watching that justice can be quiet, smart, and unstoppable." Monica smiled, holding her son's hand. "Courage, knowledge, and calm authority always win," she said. "And never forget. Even when the system seems intimidating, it's never too late to stand up and flip the script." The story became a symbol, not just of justice for one teenager, but of empowerment for an entire community. It reminded everyone that prejudice, intimidation, and misuse of authority have consequences, and that true power lies in preparation, composure, and unwavering integrity. Jamal grew into a young leader in his own right, inspired by his mother's example, advocating for fairness, equity, and accountability wherever he went. Monica's legacy expanded beyond the courtroom, leaving a lasting impact on families, schools, and community organizations. In that quiet, powerful way, justice had been fully served. The officer had learned, albeit painfully, that misuse of power carries consequences. Jamal had gained confidence and respect that no fear or intimidation could diminish. And the world had witnessed a timeless lesson. Knowledge, courage, and calm authority will always triumph over arrogance and abuse. The summer afternoon confrontation on Maplewood Street had sparked more than local attention. It became a movement. Videos of Jamal's encounter with the officer, featuring Monica Thompson's calm and commanding presence, circulated across social media, news platforms, and even educational forums. Hashtags like #JusticeForJamal, #MomPower, and #KnowledgeIsPower were trending nationwide. Jamal, once a quiet teen riding his bike without a care, suddenly found himself a symbol of resilience. He received letters from students, young athletes, and aspiring leaders who had faced similar intimidation. Each message reinforced the importance of courage, knowledge, and composure. Jamal's story spread far beyond Maplewood, inspiring people across the country to stand up against injustice, no matter how daunting it seemed. At school, Jamal was invited to speak at assemblies and leadership workshops. Standing in front of hundreds of students, he described the day his life had changed. The fear, the confrontation, and the transformation when his mother intervened. "Justice isn't always loud," he told them, his voice steady and confident. "Sometimes it's calm, calculated, and unstoppable. Courage and knowledge can flip any script." Monica, meanwhile, became a sought-after speaker for legal and community forums. Her expertise, combined with her poised response in a tense situation, turned her into a role model not just for parents, but for attorneys, leaders, and anyone facing intimidation. Her approach, strategic, calm, and authoritative, showed that the most effective way to confront abuse of power is through preparation, integrity, and unwavering resolve. But the story didn't end there. The officer who had confronted Jamal attempted to defend himself, claiming he had been provoked. Monica, anticipating every angle, presented irrefutable evidence. Timestamp videos, eyewitness testimonies, and Jamal's calm statements. The officer's arguments crumbled under the weight of undeniable proof, and a disciplinary board swiftly imposed formal reprimands, retraining mandates, and a permanent note on his record. The media covered the aftermath extensively. Headlines highlighted Monica's decisive intervention. "Lawyer Mom Protects Teen," holds officer accountable, legal expertise flips the script on police misconduct. Teen empowered by courageous mother, communities across the country began hosting workshops and panels centered around the principles Monica demonstrated: knowledge of rights, composure under pressure, and the courage to confront injustice. Her calm authority became a case study for parents, young leaders, and professionals alike. Meanwhile, Jamal began to thrive. No longer intimidated by authority or prejudice, he joined youth advocacy programs and spoke on platforms highlighting social justice, equity, and community empowerment. The encounter that had once frightened him had transformed into a defining moment of leadership and resilience. Months later, Monica and Jamal were invited to a national awards ceremony honoring individuals who had made extraordinary impacts on their communities. As they walked onto the stage, applause filled the auditorium. Monica glanced at her son and whispered, "Remember, the truth always has power." Jamal smiled, feeling the full weight of the lesson he had learned. Courage and knowledge, when combined, are unstoppable. In a poetic twist, the officer who had tried to intimidate Jamal attended a separate community meeting months later, only to find his credibility permanently tarnished. His peers and superiors now viewed him with skepticism. While Jamal's story continued to be taught in schools, legal programs, and leadership seminars nationwide, the impact extended far beyond immediate justice. Families who had felt powerless against authority now had a blueprint: stay informed, remain calm, and confront wrongdoing with knowledge and integrity. Monica's and Jamal's story became symbolic, a powerful reminder that even in the face of intimidation, preparation, courage, and composure can turn fear into empowerment. Years later, Jamal graduated at the top of his class, delivering a valedictory speech that referenced that pivotal summer afternoon. "The moments that test us," he told his classmates, "are the ones that define us." Courage, knowledge, and calm authority can change not just our lives, but the lives of everyone around us. Never underestimate the power of standing up for what's right. Monica, sitting in the audience, felt a swell of pride. She had protected her son, taught him lifelong lessons, and ensured that justice prevailed. The officer's actions had consequences. Jamal had gained confidence, respect, and a platform to inspire thousands. And the world had witnessed a timeless truth: knowledge, courage, and calm authority will always triumph over arrogance, bias, and abuse. The courtroom was packed the day of the final hearing. Reporters, community leaders, and neighbors filled every seat, waiting to see if justice would finally prevail. The officer who had harassed Marcus sat stiffly at the defense table, his badge temporarily suspended, but his arrogance still etched into his posture. He believed he could walk away, just like so many before him. But then Alicia, the powerhouse attorney and Marcus's mother, stood tall, her voice steady and commanding. She walked the jury through every piece of evidence. The body cam footage where the officer's tone shifted from fake politeness to aggression, the witness statements from bystanders who confirmed Marcus had done nothing wrong, and the department's history of similar complaints conveniently swept under the rug. The courtroom held its breath when Alicia delivered her final words: "This is not just about my son. This is about every child who deserves to walk home without fear. This is about reminding those in power that their authority is not a weapon. It is a responsibility. And when they forget that, the law will remind them." Her words landed like thunder. The jury deliberated for hours, but when they returned, the verdict was clear: guilty. The officer lost his badge, his pension, and his so-called reputation. The city was forced to pay damages to Marcus, money that Alicia immediately pledged to start a community fund for young Black students interested in law and criminal justice, so more voices like hers could rise and protect the next generation. But the twist no one expected came afterward. As reporters swarmed her, asking how she felt about the victory, Alicia simply smiled and said, "Today wasn't about revenge. It was about rewriting the rules. My son's case is proof that when we stand tall, when we use our voices, and when we refuse to be silenced, we don't just win battles. We change the entire game." That single line went viral. It was played on news outlets, clipped on TikTok, quoted in op-eds, and shared in classrooms. Across the country, communities began organizing legal defense funds, mentorship programs, and advocacy groups in Marcus's name. The story was no longer about one officer or one family, it was a movement. Marcus, once just a quiet teen who loved sketching and basketball, had become a symbol of resilience. And Alicia, his fearless mother, became known not just as a lawyer, but as a leader who turned pain into power. The officer, meanwhile, faced the reality of his downfall. For years, he had believed the uniform shielded him from consequences. But that day proved that the truth, once exposed, carries more weight than any badge. And so, the story closed on an unforgettable lesson. Prejudice can silence, intimidate, and even wound, but it cannot outlast the power of truth, justice, and a mother's determination. If this story moved you, subscribe now and hit the notification bell for more powerful, true stories. Share this video so others never forget. Justice has many forms, but when courage meets integrity, the script always flips.